Hi guys, Ricky Tang here. I'm facing a bit of a dilemma, and that is regarding my motorbike, my BMW S1000R from 2019, which I bought new. Now, I've owned it for 16 months now, and I received an email. You know where this is going. I received an email from the original sellers, original shop, Lind Motorrad, Welwyn Garden City. And basically the upshot of the email was, can we tempt you into a new motorbike? And initially in my head, I was like, no, you cannot tempt me into a new motorbike. However, what offers are there? We'll have a little look before I dismiss them. Off the top of my head, I can only remember two main offers with the highest discounts, basically. The discounts total £1,750 off a new motorbike, providing you order by the end of February. Today is the 14th of February. Happy Valentine's Day. Now, the first deal, the first bike I can remember, the deal being available for is the S1000R 2021 model, latest model. Lovely bike, great bike. I've got no interest in a super sports bike, in an S1000RR or anything like that. It's just not me. The other bike that they are doing the discount on is the R1250R. Now, if you've seen any of my older videos, you might have seen me doing a test ride on the R1250R, and it happened on the same day that I did the S1000R. I ended up choosing the S1000R. Now, when I test rode those two bikes, I actually went in there planning to buy, if I liked it, the R1250R. That was the main reason I went to the bike shop to ride it. That was actually in Cheltenham, Cotswold Motorrad. Yeah, I was looking at that R1250, quite strong, but it was a bit expensive. It was going to push me quite high on my monthly repayments on the old PCP, and the balloon payment at the end. And the S1000R was a bit cheaper, more powerful, lighter, so I thought I owed it to myself to at least ride that one as well, just in case it surprised me. Turns out the S1000R surprised me. I was shocked, really surprised by the low end grunt from 2 to 4,000 RPM. It pulled well, really well, more than I expected it to. I thought it was going to be a highly tuned 16 valve inline 4, which it is. I thought it would be gutless at the bottom, and it wasn't. It was really good. So it was great at the bottom, and it was ridiculous at the top end. Ridiculous, but a bit soft in the middle. But that strong bottom end and strong top end, basically it won me over. I thought, well, this is a great bike. There's nothing really wrong with this bike. It's light, it's powerful, it's not gutless at the bottom like I thought it might be. It's got plenty of electronics. It was a sport model, lean sensitive traction control and ABS and all that stuff. So yeah, I actually ended up, and it was cheaper than the R1250. So I bought it, and it's been a great bike. But yeah, it was the 1250 I was really looking at in the first place. So this email's come through with this 1250 offer, and I thought, well, okay, nice, but I can't really get myself out of the PCP now, even if I wanted to. I'm only 16 months into this PCP deal. I phoned them anyway. Phoned them up anyway, and I said, well, I don't think I can get out of this deal. I think I'm going to owe too much, and I can't afford to pay any penalties to clear the current deal. And they looked into it, and they called me back and said, well, the thing is, because you traded in your previous bike, your 1250 Bandit, against the S1000R, your balance isn't as high as you think it is, and basically we'll buy your bike back off you, or we'll settle the agreement and you won't actually have to find anything. The R1250 then, if I was to go for it, would be a brand new deal. I'll be buying a new bike from scratch. There'd be no trading or no Part X, that sort of thing. They said they'd try and find a bike for me that I'd like. First of all, they found one in mineral grey, which is a 2021 colour. I kind of like the mineral grey colour, but I think I prefer the HP style, the red, white and blue model. So they had a little scout around and they found a model for me. It's the HP style, so red, white and blue. It's got the comfort pack on, which normally would be heated grips and a chrome exhaust pipe. However, this model that they found, or the models that are in the country actually, come with the Akrapovic sports exhaust, the louder, bassier exhaust, which actually was on the bike that I test rode. So it's got the exhaust, it's got the comfort pack, which is heated grips basically. It's got the luggage grid at the back. So it's basically fully loaded, this bike, other than the option 719 stuff, which I'm not really interested in. And they said that would cost me £223 a month with no deposit. So I can go back in, I can go and buy that bike without actually having to find any money at the outset. And currently though, on the BM, I'm paying £116 and change a month. So we'll be paying nearly double. Now, I've got some pros and cons. I've written them on the screen over there. Right, so S1000R Pros. Why did I buy it in the first place? The lightweight. I love the lightweight. It's so easy to push around in the back garden. It's nice from that point of view. To have such a powerful bike that weighs so little is a real highlight in my bike owning career. The top end power is awesome when you can use it. And this is going to be part of the con really. It's got great top end power, but how often can you use it on the road? Answers on a postcard. And it's kind of cheap. It's a lot of money for a bike, but my plan on the PCP, my plan for a while on this PCP was to keep it for the term, for the 4 years, but not buy it often. Keep it and then return it. So it's only costing me £116 a month, other than insurances and tyres, the normal running costs. It's not an expensive bike for me to own in this PCP deal. Now, the cons, and there are a few. Right from the first test ride, I said that the mid-range is a bit on the weak side, a little bit soft. It's not as strong as the low end and it's not as strong as the top end. There has to be a compromise somewhere. It's a highly tuned 16 valve inline 4 1000cc bike. But I like mid-range. I've always liked grunt. I had a 1250 Bandit for a reason. The S1000 kind of pretty much made up for it at the low end, the top end, but you can't spend all your time below 4,000 RPM or above 9,000 RPM. You're going to spend a lot of time in the middle of the range. And yeah, a lot of the time when I wind the throttle on, it doesn't pull as well as I'd like it to. Now you could, try and get that tuned with an exhaust system and a dyno runs and ECU flashing, but that's 1,500 quid. It's a lot of money to do that, and there's no guarantee of success. So I won't be doing that. So we've got a bit of a soft mid-range. That's the first con. Yeah, the power. Great power at the top, but you can't really use it on the road. It was brilliant on the track day, and that's when I really learnt about this bike. I haven't learnt everything about this bike by any stretch, but the top end power is immense, and I loved using it, but you don't get much of a chance to use it. So you're stuck with a low and mid-range more of the time. The other thing is, although I do like the torque, the low end grunt and the high end power, the acceleration, I do feel that the bike is overall a bit low geared for me. And what I mean by that is at cruising speeds at 80ish miles an hour, let's not lie, a lot of people do about 80ish when they're cruising, it sounds busy, it sounds revvy, higher geared than I want it, or higher revving than I want it to be. But I don't want to raise the gearing. I don't want to put a smaller sprocket on the back or a bigger one on the front, because then I'd lose acceleration or lose the effect of the torque. So it's a busy sounding engine, and I've not really got used to that. It's always a little bit aggravating. Another thing that I've not been able to sort out is the high speed weaves. This bike has a tendency to weave a little bit at high speeds going into bends. And I found this on the track day. I've found it through my own testing on the roads even. And despite me fitting an Öhlins steering damper, an adjustable one, I've not been able to sort out the weaves. And I'm not alone. There are a number of owners that have a problem with weaving bikes at high speeds, and some have sorted it with suspension changes, some have sorted it with new shocks and kind of new fork upgrades, and I'm not going to spend the money on that. I haven't got the money to spend on a kind of an Olin's rear shock and a revalve for the front end. I just can't do it, or won't do it. So it has this issue with weaving which I can't dial out. I've been all the way up and down the preload settings of that bike, and that's all you can change with the dynamic suspension. Compression and rebound, I can't adjust it. It's automatically controlled. So yeah, there is that problem that I've not been able to solve, and it bites me quite often when I'm in the summer and cracking on dry roads. So that's a con. The foot pegs. This bike is based on the S1000R. It's a racy riding position for the bottom, even though they've now got higher bars. So the foot pegs are quite high, higher than pretty much any other bike I've ridden in the last couple of years, and I've been doing a few of those first dates videos. So it's quite an extreme lower leg position, and yeah, my legs get a bit cramped, even my legs. So that's not great either. Every time I get back on this bike after riding another bike, it's like, oh, these pegs, they're just ridiculously high. I can see why, you know, it's based on the history of the bike, but it's just not quite what I was looking for in a bike, even though I chose a bike. And here's one which might get a bit of feedback in your comment section. I've got to admit, I feel a bit antisocial nowadays when I'm thrashing the bike around in the countryside, using maybe lower gears but higher revs, making a lot of noise out of that 4-cylinder engine, passing houses and businesses and farms. I can't help it. I feel a little bit guilty, and sometimes I use higher gears, you know, 5th and 6th, and use lower revs rather than really enjoy myself on the road. So there's that difficult one. I think when we were coming out of lockdown last year, there's quite a bit made in the media of people complaining about the loud noises of motorbikes, and I think it's rubbed off on me a little bit and makes you think, yeah, actually this bike does make a bit of a racket when you're out there enjoying yourself. And that's partly because it's a 16 valve inline 4. Okay, I think that's a con sorted out. Now let's talk about the R1250. Number one, I love that engine. I love that boxer twin. I had a feeling I would, you know, before the test ride. I thought, yeah, this is a bike I really like. I want to test ride this and see if it's as good as the reviews and the videos said it was. And it is. I really like it. It's got a great spread of torque. You know, it's a 1250cc engine. It's 25% bigger than the S1000. It's got grunt. It's got a great mid-range, the kind of mid-range I was looking for. It pulls quickly when you twist the throttle around 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. It responds, and that's what I want. I want response. And the S1000 doesn't quite give that response in the mid-range. So I like the engine, and because of the shift cam, it's a bit leery at top as well. You rev it out towards 9 grand, it'll go there quite quick, and then you just hit another, you know, gear with a quick shifter and you're off again. So I like the engine. I do like it a lot. I did like it. It's just the S1000 charmed me with that little low end grunt, which I wasn't expecting, and the lightweight, and that's what kind of got me. So I like the boxer engine a lot. Also, what I like about that engine, it being a big twin cylinder engine with each piston or each cylinder is over 600cc, it doesn't sound that fast even when you're going fast. So it's less, to my mind anyway, less antisocial when you're cracking around on a big flat twin versus an inline 4. So, and I like the sound it makes, not just the fact it's, you know, maybe less aggravating to the locals. I just like the sound of the boxer twin. The riding position for the R1250, more comfortable, you know, a bit more spread out. You know, I'm not a boy racer really. I'm still trying to wonder why I bought the S1000R. I'm not really a boy racer. You know, I'm 48 now, and the riding position on the R1250 is comfortable, although I have a feeling that the seat, the default or the standard seat height, is possibly too low, and I might have to go for the sport seat ultimately if I were to buy the bike. On the test ride, I commented on how low the seat was, but I wasn't sure whether that bike had the standard seat or the low seat, but it feels low, real low. So that could be raised anyway, or I can mess about with that. But less vibration, certainly, than the S1000R. The S1000 still vibes through the bars, even though they made efforts to kind of minimize that. You know, that 4-cylinder engine does buzz a bit and can send your hands to sleep on a long ride. So the R1250 is generally smoother. Now, I mentioned the S1000 had these high-speed weaves. And also, before I got the Olin steering damper, it kicked about on hard acceleration. It's a sports bike. It's a sports naked. It does that. But the R1250 feels so stable in comparison. And that doesn't mean to say slow steering. It's not. It will swing side to side quick. But when you get there at an angle in a bend, it stays there. It's really hard to deflect it off its chosen line. It's amazing sense of stability when you're thrashing it through bends, and I like that a lot, and I miss it basically. So it's got great handling for my level, for me, for my riding style, I think. He says, trying to convince himself to buy the bike. And you got the other stuff like the TFT dash, lovely dash, fantastic looking screen there, phone connectivity. You got the BMW connected app, neither of which the phone connectivity and the app doesn't work on my S1000. It's not supported. Does on the next S1000. But yeah, you have those options. You got the whiz wheel, multifunction wheel that lets you fly through the dash, which is all nice stuff, and I like it a lot. I like my toys. If I want to go for a ride on a bike that has no gadgets, I've got the 650 Bros as well when that gets back on the road. So yeah, that connected app does trip recording as well. So you can export that from the phone app and, you know, do maps on the screen with it, or for your YouTube videos. So I like that stuff as well. I like that side of things. So they're the pros, sorry. Cons, struggling a little bit. Number one, heavy, 239 kilos wet. I know heavy is relative. People own heavier bikes. I've owned a heavier bike, the 1250 Bandit, but I partly sold it because I got fed up with the weight. I think that might grate in the long run, the weight of the bike, especially when you're in the back garden kind of doing a 3-point turn with the engine switched off. That might wind me up in the long run. And it's only the weight when you're pushing the bike around. That's a hassle. Riding, just like the old Bandit I owned, when you're riding it, it doesn't feel heavy when you're riding. It's just when you're pushing it with the engine switched off. But talking about moving the bike around in the back garden, it's got a better steering lock than the S1000. So it's easier to actually turn it around. So it will turn a 5-point turn into a 3-point turn, which should be nice. Con, more money for me every month. Like I said, the S1000 isn't costing me very much, but this nearly doubles my monthly outgoings on the bike. It's doable. I can do it. And the good thing is I'm paying off a car as well on PCP at the moment, but that deal is ending in about 9 months time, September time, I think, actually 7 months time. So I'm paying off that car then, and the car will be mine. So I'm not buying another car. I'm quite happy with what I've got now. It's a great car. So yeah, so soon I'll have more money. In a few months time, I'll have more money coming back into my pocket. So that makes the R1250 affordable. Although if I want to keep it, I'm going to have to start saving for that balloon payment, which should be about £6,500 in 4 years' time, which is quite a bit of money. But that's the same kind of terms that I took the S1000 on with. That was a PCP and fined £6,000 and a bit at the end of it, or return it, give it back, which is an option I could have with the 1250 as well. How long is this video? It's long. I need to wrap this up. Any more cons? Yeah, I keep turning the cons into pros in this list. I talked about the weight and then thought, oh, steering lock's actually better than my bike. I talked about the cost. It's like, well, I'll be paying off the car soon, so it will be affordable. So yeah, I haven't got many other cons I can think of on the R1250 at the moment. You know, I nearly bought it nearly 18 months ago. So I obviously like the bike a lot. But the S1000 up till now is the best bike I've ever owned. Flat out, easily. Amazing bike. So I can't quite believe after 16 months and 4,000 miles, that's all I've done. COVID has really ruined last year's plans. That I'm thinking of chopping it in, but I think the R1250 might suit me better, ultimately, than this bike. And even though it's heavier and has less power, I think because it'll suit me better, that may well become the best bike I've owned to date. I'm about out of time. The battery's about to run out as well. But quickly, I could consider the Speed 1200, the new one. But A, it's more expensive than this 1250R with the discounts. And B, I think they've tuned it to try and compete with the S1000R and the Tuono 1100. And maybe the Ducati Street Fighter, but I think it's still a bit beyond that, behind that. So they've taken it in the direction that I'm trying to get away from. They've tuned it more for high end. And I'm actually looking for more mid-range. So I don't want to be chasing top-end revs. And that's the same for the Super Duke. The Super Duke R. Now that also is more expensive than this R1250 I'm looking at. But the funny thing is, I've been looking at some dyno charts of the Super Duke R and the R1250R, and up to about 7,500 RPM, they make almost the same power. There's maybe about 10-15 bhp in it. And the R1250 makes more torque. So yes, the Super Duke makes more power, but you have to go chasing it like I do with the S1000R. And I don't want to chase the power. I want the power to be at more real world speeds. I want it to be closer to 8,000 RPM, not 10,000 RPM. So I think it's the Super Duke is kind of like a V-twin version of the Tuono and of the S1000R. It's super rapid if you give it the beans. I want rapid with fewer beans. and that's what I think the R1250 gets me. So I better stop this video now. Any comments down below? Yeah, feel free to chime in and I'll answer them as long as they're not too offensive. Considering I'm thinking of swapping a S1000R for R1250, they might be offensive. We'll see. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me on this little dilemma video.